I don't think anyone was expecting this, but we actually just got a ban list that goes into effect starting December 1st. And I'm not going to do a reaction because I've already seen the list, and so it wouldn't be genuine. But I'm going to be giving my first thoughts on what the new hits and unlimits do for the format. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, be sure to let me know, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. But with that being said, let's just hop straight into it. So the very first card that got banned is Curious Lightsworn Dominion. This card definitely did deserve to get banned, even though it wasn't being used anymore. It was only a matter of time before another deck broke it. Just being able to send any card from your deck to the grave, in essentially for free, because nowadays it's pretty easy to get 3 monsters with the correct attribute and type onto the board. Dangerous. But this isn't really going to change much for now because, like I said, the tier decks aren't really playing this anymore, but it just makes it so in the future, cards like this don't really get abused once again. So it's fine. Good hit. The next thing is Mystic Mine. And honestly, when I saw this, I was ecstatic. As everyone knows, Mystic Mine is my least favorite card of all time. So seeing it get hit, very good. Here's a quick reenactment of what my reaction was when I saw it.
Mystic Mine is banned.
Let's go!
So yeah, with Mystic Mine gone, that actually changes more than people would expect. Mystic Mine wasn't as much of a problem now as it was maybe like last summer or a few formats ago, just because most tier lists now are playing like one Heartbeat in the main deck. They're also playing the Shizu cards, which with the field spell act as an out to mine as well. So realistically, Mine wasn't doing that much, but of course Mine always has its formats. It's always going to be annoying, always going to be there until it was banned. And banning it now actually makes it so now we don't have to play one spell and trap removal in the main deck, just so we don't lose to one copy of Mystic Mine, for example. So it's honestly really great that this card was banned, not only because I personally don't like it, but I also think generally for the health of the game, it's pretty good. This card was very problematic, and like I said, it was just a matter of time before it become a big problem once again. So great hit from Konami. Honestly, I love it. Maybe I'm a little biased there, but nonetheless, Mystic Mine, really good hit. So that was it for the ban section. So you can see we didn't lose any like tier cards or anything, and that's like a similar story for the monsters. We did lose Orange Light to 1, which was fine because a lot of the times tier players weren't really even playing Orange Light in the mirror. It was like 50-50 almost. Like there are tier players who think it's really bad in the mirror, tier players who think it's like it's okay. But in the end, it doesn't really change much. It just makes it so now you could realistically just play the 1 in the main deck as just like a blowout card. If you see it, cool. If you don't see it, you don't need it to play. So honestly, it doesn't change too much in the end. It's a very interesting hit. I don't think this was really that big of an issue. It allowed tier to combat a card like Dimension Shifter better, Abyss Dweller better. So maybe Konami wants to just make it so there are more outs to those monsters that actually stop tiers. Or sorry, less outs to those monsters. So it's harder for tiers to actually play through them. So hitting Orange Light to 1, totally okay. Shouldn't change like the meta by any means. It just maybe changed a few deck building options. We probably will see, a transition to heavier Bestial lineups in the main deck and or the side deck. You'll probably see like all 9 Bestials in people's decks like one way or another, be it in like the main or the side. So yeah, ultimately like doesn't change too much, but it's a very interesting hit. I don't think anyone would ever have expected this. The next card on the list, honestly, Lyralist Recital Starling from 1 to 2 doesn't matter at all. No one's really playing this. Bird Up isn't really a thing anymore. Maybe it could be like a rogue deck, but I don't think this is what was holding the deck back, to be honest. And then finally, for the unlimits, this is actually very interesting. We have Tellarknight Ptolemaeus. So back in the day, if you guys didn't play, Tellarknight Ptolemaeus was used to make a card like Cyber Dragon Infinity, because you could put a bunch of level 4s with pendulums on the board. And just making it Cyber Dragon Infinity was pretty good at the time because Omni Negates were few and far between. It's not like nowadays where you can set it up really easily. Nowadays, you could still go into Infinity, but it just feels like a very big commitment. If you have 3 level 4s on the board, why are you making Cyber Dragon Infinity? Why don't you just make a card like Abyss Dweller or Baguska now? It's just so much better nowadays, so it really doesn't feel worth it. There is another interesting card that you can actually go into with this, being Constellar Diamond, I believe its name is. The one that essentially acts as a skill drain for dark monsters. So you can argue it's like another Dweller against tier elements, but it's the same idea. Like, why don't you just make Dweller instead if you have the capabilities of putting level 4s on board? So I don't think ultimately this is going to change too much, but it's definitely an interesting card to bring back. I don't think it'll be an issue at all. There aren't too many like cheese XYZs that I can think of off the top of my head. Perhaps there's some like very cheesy FDK now that works or something, but it probably won't be too relevant. Like I just mentioned, you'd rather just make Dweller or Baguska if you have level 4s 99% of the time. But something that does matter, Dimensional Fissure and Macro Cosmos both to 3. So it seems like Konami is on the trend of unbanning cards that really have no business, or sorry, unlimiting cards that really have no business being unlimited, like Skill Drain, for example. Now putting Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos as 3 is pretty bad for like the tier limits deck. Like, yes, they are strictly going first cards pretty much. So it's like essentially now instead of these 2 floodgates, you have 6 that you can put in against tier limits. That's kind of scary because a deck like Fluunderies can very well take full advantage of this. Not even just against tier limits, but just against general like rogue decks that aren't like Fluunderies or Exosister, for example. They can take full advantage of this, and that's kind of scary as a tier limits player, because now essentially instead of having to just worry about cards like Necro Valley, you now have to worry about cards like Dimensional Fissure, Macro Cosmos, Dimension Shifter as well. So just honestly so much tier hate. I can understand why Konami did it. I might be a little biased because I do play tier limits myself, but I don't think this should have happened. It feels like a little too much. But once again, I can see why they would do this, and maybe some people are really happy with this. Fire Formation Tenki, cool. It could definitely go back to 3, doesn't really matter. And similarly to Metaverse, now without Mystic Mind, it just doesn't matter at all. So those are just some of my first thoughts on the cards that got affected on the ban list. Generally, where I think the format will go, probably still roughly the same. As usually tier elements are still going to be the best deck. We might see like a slight increase in like Fluunderies and Exosister plays, because Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos are incredibly powerful in both of those decks, and now they just essentially got 6 more like auto wins against tier elements going first. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that, but overall, I still think the format's going to stay relatively the same. They didn't hit any like really relevant tier limits cards aside from like Orange Light. So people are still going to be playing the deck. It doesn't make sense for them to get off of Ishizu tier limits just because there's these extra like Dimensional Fissures and Macrocosmos. It's kind of like the same idea when Skill Drain came back from the ban list. Like, people started playing a little bit more Eldritch, but then Eldritch didn't ultimately like take over the format. So I think it'll be a similar type of idea. Once again, just because Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos are indeed pretty problematic floodgates going first, but they are floodgates, so you do have to go first in order to set them up. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the ban list in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed my initial thoughts, please do let me know by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.